link. Okay, I could build damn good boards,
but
I just couldn't figure out how to produce them in volume, and I didn't know how to fucking sell them in any volume. And I saw a guy like Nev who could, really produce. Nev took an interest in the boards, and I took an interest in Nev. It was kind of like I could, honestly, there's always give and take in a relationship, and you don't enter into a relationship surely if you know you're going to get zilch.
Yeah,
I mean, there's got to be something in it for either side. So for me, it was like, right, Nev's working with CNC technology. The guy's a brilliant marketer. I got composites, board building skills. So we kind of teamed up, and we went over and met Nev. He saw some boards. He threw a bunch of dimensions at me at the end of 2004, and he said, right, I want you to build a bunch of boards for my team riders. So I went back to Western Australia, built a bunch of boards of certain size. The Quickie Pro was on the next year, February 2005. I literally fly in. I've got the boards. I made them without labels. First thing Nev does is like peel back a Nev sticker, stick that on. All right, no worries. Goes down the Quickie Pro, starts throwing them around. Pros see them, Taj was probably the standout who got on it and just was like, whoa, there's something in this. But ironically, I'd already had a history with Taj because Taj's parents actually rode my boards already back in Western Australia. So Taj kind of was like a little bit and I'd go surfing, free surfing. I'd surf with Taj. So,
and he was like on Weber's at the time,
correct?
Right?
Yep.
Greg Weber. So he's always. But it's really interesting. He's always like picked really experimental shapers. Like he's Maurice, and Weber and you. Like really interesting. I find how he's actually one of the top pros that's been pushing.
It's
what's
funny.
written in
It's
competition.
funny you say that because my take on Taj was, and honestly, I've only just made this connection. I always found that Taj was the least likely one to experiment. Like he would ride the same boards from 2 foot to 10 foot. And he'd always want exactly the same board, same dimensions, same weight, same everything. So I find that almost ironic.
It's weird, right?
That he, connected with people that were like almost obtuse and had these crazy ideas,
It's wild.
Look, I know a number of times I dropped stuff in front of him and, I'd be like, Taj, I've got an idea. I promise. This is like my last trip, okay? and I mean, you do it as a shaper, as you're learning stuff. You go out on some crazy tangents, but I think as a pro surfer, you don't want that.
Yeah.
You want a solid, reliable, dependable board you can go out and win contests on, time and time again.
Yeah.
So I think it's not a good mix in that sense.
Matt, it seems like he's found his footing with Matt Biolis, and who tinkers and does experiment, but also has that consistency, I guess, or willing to make like the same kind of board that Taj needs or wants.
Yeah, look, Matt, in my opinion, he's really switched on.
Yeah.
I mean, consistency is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For what the pros need, I mean, it's consistency in everything. The density of the foam, the thickness of the stringer, the way the layup's down, the way the layup's done, how good your laminator is, how good your sander is.
What about temperament?
Temperament?
Yeah. Wouldn't you want like your shaper to be somewhat stable emotionally, I guess, also? So that you can get that stability and communication of like the board?
Look, for sure. Like communication skills are invaluable.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, any shaper, surfer, like for starters, what I would say, any good qualified shaper has to have insanely good communication skills, because a lot of the times you're trying to extract information out of people, but they don't even know what they want and they can't even put it into words. And so somehow the way you communicate needs to be on more levels than just the verbal stuff coming out of their mouth. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like you're trying to extract their thoughts and turn it into a physical product.
You got to learn their love language.
Yeah, look,
how they communicate.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be like an architect almost. Someone comes in with this crazy like crayon drawing and says, I want a house like this.
So you and Nev get hooked up then, and
yeah, okay. So
like...
the deal was that we would work together, and I said, all right, Nev, we'll give it until. So it was February 2005.
Yeah.
I said, all right, Nev, I'll give it a year. And basically, in that year, we were going to work together. So I moved over to Queensland. I dragged my family over with me. It was kind of like the beginning of the school year. So I could literally say, right, kids, we're moving from one side of the country to the other. Okay, Mrs. Berger, sorry, but I'm just,
they must have loved
I'm pulling you out of your life, and we're moving to the other side of the country because I'm like, it's a career move.
Yeah.
And so, dropped my kids in school in Queensland. Mrs. comes over, and I said, all right, Nev, I'll give it a year. I left my place back in West Oz. I had this, like I owned my house, I owned my factory, was fully stocked up. I could walk back in the door any day.
Yeah. And
apart from having like boards on the rack, I had enough raw materials for 50 boards. I mean, I left this little like, what do you like, an insurance policy or like a plan B,
parachute.
Like a backup plan? Yeah, okay, parachute, yeah. So I kind of left that back in Western Australia, thought, right, I'll move over east, I'll give it a year. And so I started, and I still had orders as well. I still had customers. Like, this was the other crazy thing. At the time, I had a 2-year waiting list. Okay, it was crazy. I mean, because I'd stepped out of a business that was doing sort of 15 to sort of 18 boards a week to a board that was doing 3 boards, to a business that was doing 3 boards a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I had like 150 customers that I was going to deal with a year, and that was that. And so what was happening was, people were just always chasing me down for work. And I would literally have, like, I'd be out in the water. I would have just got out, and some guy like screeches up and he says, Bert, and he'll run over and he'll give me $500. He said, look, Richo gave me this about a week ago, and he says he wants to put a deposit down. He wants to get a board. He wants to get on the waiting list. And that's what it was like. So when I went over east and started working with Nev, I thought it was an opportunity to actually increase production.
Yeah.
Nev had guys working for him. So I started working with guys, teaching them how to build the boards, and there was a little bit of trust involved. Yeah. And so the plan was we would build the boards under the Nev label, also under the Sunova label.
Yeah.
What I offered Nev was the Future Shapes technology, kind of like how the Firewires were built. It was the parabolic rail, high-density foam top and bottom.
Yeah.
I'm like, Nev, you can have this stuff. I'll continue with Sunova doing the wooden boards, the balsa, top and bottom, parabolic rail. You do the high-density foam, top and bottom, parabolic rail. So we can kind of work together, but we can create a little bit of separation between the brands.
Yeah.
Nev's like, all right, cool. We'll do the trade show. We came over in 2005 and we did the trade show at Huntington. We also did another one, I think, in San Diego and Florida.
Yeah.
And I think the San Diego Huntington one were like almost like a week apart.
Yeah,
or
like ASR and then probably like the US Open or something.
That was it, yeah. And man, that was crazy. It was just like the interest was huge.
Yeah.
And
this was right around, not too far from Clark Foam also, I guess. That would be a few years off from that.
It was just before Clark Foam, okay?
Closure.
Clark went down, I don't know, it was like December 2005?
Yeah, 2005,
right?
2006, something around
2006?
that. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it might have been 2005, but yeah.
Could be, no.
Yeah, I don't know. Is any like historians out there that can like clarify?
I normally am, but I'm a little off today.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, Clark threw me.
Sorry.
So we're doing the trade shows. There's like really big interest, and at the same time, we're writing business proposals. We're trying to create like an offer document.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it an IPO?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Okay. Something. Like that.
Something like. And so we were trying to get investment dollars in, with this product, and sort of create like something. And honestly, the people that had money, they would see it and they just didn't get it. I mean, like you're talking to golfers and you're talking to like, I don't know, like they weren't surfers. And oddly enough, we'd probably had like 15 different meetings with different investors. We had this one guy working with us who was like trying to introduce us to potential investors, and they didn't really see the potential. And I said to Nev, look, Nev, January the 10th, 2006, man, if we haven't got it together then, I'm packing my bags and going back to West Isles. This is not working. And it was like December 30th, he goes and knocks on the door of Dougal Walker.
Oh.
Okay, so Dougal had...
Former top 30 surfer from the early 80s as well.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never realised that.
Yeah.
Well, I knew Dougal because he was the general manager of Billabong.
Yeah.
And he had like cashed in 18 months earlier for like $66 million.
Oh.
So he literally cashed all his shares in with another guy called Matthew Perrin, who was the lawyer for Billabong.
Yeah.
And so both these guys are just flush with bucks. Dougal's like been laying on the couch for 18 months going, what am I going to do with my life? Nev goes and knocks on the door and says, what do you reckon of this? Dougal takes it out the front, goes for a surf, comes back. He goes, all right, let's go.
Wow.
And then literally like a day later, I had like $50,000 in my bank. And Dougal's like, right, we're going to get all this stock. We're going to go to the trade show. We're going to get like international marketing crew. We need a CEO. We need this. We need that. And all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. Like, wow. I mean, just like Dougal came in and just started pressing all the go buttons, and he really saw potential in this product. And a few months later, Firewire was registered. And
who coined the name?
It was actually Mark Price. Yeah.
Figures. Yeah. Wow. And then so fucking like rocket ship, and then Clark Foam closes.
Literally at the same time. I mean, when Clark went down,
people were shitting. It was 2005. Yeah,
it was.
So
it was December 2005.
So people were shitting bricks after that. They didn't know where they were going to get their foam. They had no clue where they were going to get boards from. Yeah. Like, you guys just stepped in. I remember going to Surf Expo, and it was the most gorgeous booth, by the way, and like being totally impressed.
$140,000.
Fudge. Yeah, and I think it was like a 20 board minimum to order.
Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like really, really steep for our shop at the time, but really interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. So kismet almost, just like the timing is just unreal.
Yeah, it was crazy because I remember when Clark went down, it was like, oh no, what are we going to do? What's the alternative? Oh, there's an alternative, and it's been there all along, and it's better. It's like, because prior to that, man, it was an uphill battle. I mean, always.
Nobody wanted to see epoxy.
No. And honestly, you know Greg Law, right?
I was just going to say, he was like the only guy really pushing it.
Yeah.
Like real hard. He was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Greg sort of dates back and also connects up with Clyde Beatty as well, who we, spoke about
Florida,
earlier.
Right?
Sorry?
Wasn't Clyde from Florida too, potentially? Or
look, I'm not sure. You might have to ask Greg. Have you ever had Greg in here?
Yeah.
Have you had Greg in here for interviews?
No, I haven't.
All right.
No.
Well, I think, honestly, you got to pull Greg in one day. He's a really interesting character.
That'd be amazing. So then that happens, and then it's just you're off to the races.
Oh, look, the thing just exploded. So literally, Dougal throws in a bunch of money. Matthew throws in a bunch of money. Next minute, there's millions of dollars that have been thrown into the pot.
Did that scare you?
Not at the time. It was kind of cool. Yeah. It was like the start of something.
You're feeling like the shit almost.
Yeah, sort of. Like I had a job to do. So, essentially like I was getting paid good money to get things set up and to that was kind of our objective, was to get to that point. So it was like, all right, let's start work. Let's do it. And then Dougal managed to talk some other people into throwing some money in. So there was